Hey everyone, today we're seeing the outcome of many games of DBD. I did this before a long time ago with 100 games. This time round I got all of you to help. I asked people to submit endgame screenshots into a Discord channel. Myself and one of my moderators, Waddlez, then counted the stats from these games, with it being around 200 total between us. Not all stats are out of 200 because some screenshots had to be discounted due to missing information, or they hadn't been submitted with gen stats alongside the screenshot. Big thank you to Waddlez, they really helped a lot with this video. Starting off with appearances, we have the killers. We tracked 212 killers, and the ones that appeared the most were both Ghostface and Spirit, followed only one less behind by both Trapper and Billy. The most picked characters had a 6.13% pick rate. As you can probably guess by now, the least picked character was Twins, who appeared one time, making their pick rate 0.47%. Other notable low picks were Hag with a 0.94% pick rate, and then Artist with a 1.41% pick rate. Overall, the picks were a lot tighter compared to the stats we got a while ago from behavior. They of course had a much larger base of data to use though. For survivors, we had a total of 850 survivor appearances. The most played survivor was Meg with 75 appearances, who made up 8.82% of survivors. This was closely followed by Feng with 73 appearances, or 8.58%. Then third was Dwight with 65 appearances, or 7.65% pick rate. The least picked survivor was technically the costume characters, with some making no appearances at all, and Carlos, James, and Shiva appearing once each, making their pick rates 0.12%. The least picked actual survivor was split between Hattie and Jonah, with them only appearing 3 times, and so with a 0.35% pick rate, so much more extreme on the survivor side of things. Map-wise, we tracked 180 maps. Not everyone noted down the map when logging the games, but we still got 180, which is quite a bit. The most played map was RPD, with 16 appearances, although this was East and West combined. I'm not sure if they share odds, a bit like Badham. RPD made up 8.89% of games. The map that appeared the least was Gas Heaven, which had a 0.56% appearance rate. The next highest two were Badham and The Game, each with 11 appearances, or 6.11% appearance rate. The round that appeared the most was the Macmillan Estate, making up 11.11% of total games. This was closely followed by Coldwind Farm, which made up exactly 10% of total games. The rounds that appeared the joint least were Backwater Swamp and Larry's Memorial Institute, with these realms making up 4 games each respectively, or 2.22% of games. So now we get onto the really interesting stuff, which is the perks. For survivor perks, in total we tracked 1,483 perks, across I think a little over 100 games. The perk that appeared the most was, say it with me, Dead Hard, with 91 appearances. However, interestingly, this means that only 6.14% of survivors run it. The next most used perk was Windows of Opportunity, with 88 appearances, and so a 5.93% pick rate, so really that's not too much of a difference. The next 3 perks were Prove Thyself, with 83 appearances, Adrenaline with 82, and Boon's Circle of Healing with 68. The least used perk was, well, quite a few. Blood Pact, Buckle Up, Inner Focus, Metal of Man, Overzealous, Poised, Red Herring, Self-Preservation, Soul Guard, and Up the Ante made no appearances out of the 1483 perks. There were also many perks that made just 1 appearance, these being Soul Survivor, Repressed Alliance, Quick Gambit, Kinship, Fast Track, Counterforce, and Boon Dark Theory, each of these having a 0.07% pick rate. There were also lots of perks just used twice or 3 times. 62 out of the total 116 survivor perks appeared more than 5 times. 39 out of the total 116 appeared more than 10 times. So not awful. That's definitely a better split, I would say, compared to the last time I did stats like this. Now the killer perks. We tracked a total of 861 perks. The perk that appeared the most was Now this, I think, is genuinely a shocker and you will be surprised. I found it very surprising. Lethal Pursuer with 67 appearances and a 7.78% pick rate. This was not even that closely followed by Barbecue and Chili with 44 appearances and a 5.11% pick rate. Then Scourgehook Pain Resonance with a 4.65% pick rate. With 37 appearances was Jolt with a 4.3% pick rate. Interestingly, in number 5 was Nowhere to Hide with 25 appearances and a 2.9% pick rate. It goes to show though that killer perks compared to survivors are a lot less consistent and much farther apart in their appearances. The least used killer perks, well, a bit like survivors, some perks didn't appear at all. These perks were Dissolution, Hangman's Trick, Hoarder, Overwhelming Presence, and Septic Touch. Yep, surprisingly not too many actually. We did have a lot of ones though. Blood Echo, Coup de Grace, Deerstalker, Dying Light, Gearhead, Hex Huntress Lullaby, Make Your Choice, Nemesis, Remember Me, and Territorial Imperative all had just one appearance. They each had a pick rate of 0.12%, not quite as bad as the lesser used survivor perks. Onto generators. In total we tracked gen completion for 186 games. In 84 of those games, 5 generators were completed. In 30, 4 were completed. In 37, 3 were completed. In 17, 2 were completed. In 12, 1 was completed. And in 6, 0 were completed. This means in 45.16% of games, 5 gens were completed, and in just 3.23%, 0 were completed, which is actually kinda high, I think, not gonna lie. Some of those I believe contain DCs and stuff though. What's interesting though is when we compare it to the escapes. There were 180 games tracked in total for the escapes. 4 escapes occurred in 27 matches. 3 escapes occurred in 20 matches. 2 escapes occurred in 16 matches, 1 escape occurred in 47 matches, and finally 0 escapes occurred in 70 matches. This means on average in 38.89% of games, no one escaped the trial, and in 15% of games, 4 people escaped. What's classified as a draw with 2 kills and 2 escapes only occurs 8.89% of the time, and was the lowest number of escapes to occur overall. This means the average escape rate across the games was 1.37 survivors who escaped the trial per game. That's really low, I think. The average number of sacrifices for killers was 2.63 per trial. This means killers had a 65% win rate, survivors had a 26.1% win rate, and games were draws 8.89% of the time. We also tracked the disconnects within these 180 games, which came out to a total of 29. This means in 16.11% of matches, somebody disconnected, which again is shockingly high. Onto survivor items. We tracked a total of 479 survivor items across 180 games. This was for a possibility of up to 720 items. In total there were 94 flashlight appearances, 233 medkit appearances, 129 toolbox appearances, 4 key appearances, 3 map appearances, and 16 firecracker appearances. Nothing surprising here really. Medkits are far and above the most popular item, and there is a near exact split between medkit users and non-item users. I didn't track as many prestige numbers, but Waddlez tracked 82 matches. I did an additional 18 for a nice round 100. This is tracking a total of 500 players. 338 players were between prestige 0 and 9, 93 between 10 and 19, 25 between 20 and 29, 12 between 30 and 39, 12 between 40 and 49, 9 between 50 and 59, 5 between 60 and 69, 1 between 70 and 79, 1 between 80 and 89, 1 between 90 and 99, and 3 at 100. This means 67.6% of players are between prestige 0 and 9. The rarest prestige was between 80 and 99, with only 2 players falling in this range. They both had an appearance rate of 0.2%. Pretty cool. Next we have offerings. I tracked 100 games and I tracked 255 offerings. The most prevalent offering was offerings that belonged to the altruism category, with 35 in total appearing. The second highest was the escape cake, with 19, followed by bloody party streamers with 18. There was a total of 24 map offerings, meaning on average a map offering is played in 24% of games. Many of the available map offerings weren't played, however. The offering used the most was for the Macmillan estate, and was burned 5 times, followed by the Yamaoka estate and Borga map, which was burned 3 times. Coldwind, The Game, Ormond, and RPD were burned 2 times each. Autohaven, Dead Dog, and Red Forest were all burnt once. There were 10 Mori appearances, and all of them were iridescent. Other offerings not used at all were the Black Ward, the Sacrificial Ward, Ivory Mori, Cypress Mori, Vigo's Blueprint, event offerings, Sacrificial Cake, and the Gruesome Gâteau. Waddlez didn't track all offerings in games, but did track the appearance of map offerings, with there being 22 in total, out of 82 games. Now, something else I decided to ask people to do was add any additional notable information along with their screenshot if something interesting or noteworthy happened. There were 8 reported times when the hatch was given to a survivor, and there were a total of 20 reported hatch escapes. There were 3 reported hacker games, although they were all from the same person. But hey, maybe they were just very unlucky. 4 people were reported AFK during the match, 1 was a killer, 3 were survivors. There were a total of 2 reported 4% or self-unhooks. 1 person was accused of hacking. A Rebecca got grabbed off of the same gen 3 times in a row. I thought that was funny. This is something I want to continue doing, so if you'd like to take part, you can come to my Discord, go to the game log section, submit a screenshot along with the map name, generators completed, and any additional info you think is worth mentioning. I do hope you enjoyed. Again, big thanks to Waddlez, and for everyone who submitted their games. Thanks, and goodbye.